Hi, and welcome to Origin of Concepts. In this video, we will explore the origin of the sweat lodge myth by the Cree, the largest tribe of North American First Natives. This myth has resulted in a widely practiced ceremony among the North American cultures for spiritual healing. I'll read the entire myth of the brave boy Chikum, it means the louse, who became the stone child, and comment and draw on the run. So hang on, this will be a longer video than normal. I grabbed the text from Wilfred Buck's Ininewuk Stories of the Stars. Wilfred Buck, also known as the Star Guy, is an astronomer and knowledge keeper from the Opaskwayak Cree nation. He is a science facilitator at the Manitoba First Nation Education Resource Center and an ingenious star lore expert, claiming that the Cree myth are related to the stars and constellations. I'll read a quote by Wilfred Buck, and it says, "The Sweat Lodge legend is one of the oldest myths that originated on the American continent. In this rather complex myth involving no less than 4 distinct star formations." And then he says, Corona Borealis becomes Matotutisan, or Matutisan, the sweat lodge, up here, this one. So, yeah, sorry, I need to get my native language a little bit more skilled. I'm not coming there so often. Okay. And this video will be a challenge to you, Mr. Wilfred Buck, if you ever see this video, because from my perspective, the Sweat Lodge myth isn't connected to any constellation at all, but rather the center of the Milky Way. So let's get started. This will be a long one, or a long john, you decide. Okay, I will open up the Milky Way. And today I will start drawing the sweat lodge, so we can speak on the run. So let me draw it for you here. The sweat lodge is the dark shadow surrounding the Milky Way center. It's here. Something like that. And then it got the opening here, of course. So, and the boy Chikom, or Chiki, sorry, I can't remember his name. Chikom, yeah, Chikom is his name. The louse is the striped shadow, which actually looks like a louse. I'll give him the green color here. You see, this is the louse here. But I'll draw it a little different. I'll make the 7 stripes like this. So this is the louse boy. And of course his head is the disc here, his spirit, so to speak. And then in the story we'll hear about the 7 uncles and the 7 stones. And this is of course also the striped shadow here. So now we got the sweat lodge, we got the boy, and we got the uncles and the 7 stones, because that's the main content of this myth. Okay, let's start and see how things move on. Okay, the Sweat Lodge myth. And I must be ready here with my pen. Once there was a young man named Chicom, the Laos, who had 7 uncles, and they lived at a time of scarcity and sickness. It came to be that food was needed for the community, and the young man's 7 uncles decided to go and find fresh meat. They were to return to the community in 3 days' time. The young man waited impatiently, for he wanted to go with them, but they decided against this. After 3 days, Chicom's 7 uncles had yet to return. The young man waited all the next day, and still no one returned, after which he decided that he should go look for them. He left that afternoon. Chicom traveled all afternoon and into the late evening, following their tracks. Okay, so here comes the first clue. He's following their tracks, and the tracks is, of course, the striped shadow here. This is the tracks. Eventually, he came to the place where they had made a camp. And again, the striped shadow is their camp, or the trace of their camp in the Milky Way center. So this is the camp. Here he found an empty shelter. And the empty shelter is, of course, the Milky Way center. The shelter is all the surrounding area around the disk within the shadows, the sweat lodge. And the empty shelter contained nothing but 7 rocks. And again, the striped shadow is the 7 rocks in the camp, in the empty camp. The shelter offered protection from the cold wind, which is again the striped shadow. In many myths, it's the wind or roaring sea, and this is the wind blowing. And it was getting very cold and dark. He decided to spend the night there and continue on in the morning. That night, as he slept, he had a dream. In the dream, his uncles, the 7 stripes, came to him and told him what had happened to them. The young man was told that his uncles happened upon a Mr. Pew, which is a giant, and here comes another word, Sasquatch, or we better know it as Bigfoot, because it's here the Bigfoot myth originated. So let's call this Mr. Pew for Bigfoot. And let me draw Bigfoot here. I'll delete this, because the Bigfoot is the Bigfoot in the Milky Way center. Here we got Bigfoot. And then let's move on. This Mr. Pew, or Bigfoot, traded in spirits and could capture spirits. The spirit is the golden disk in the center of the Milky Way, and transfer them from one spirit being to another. so he can transfer them to other spirits, which is this striped shadow here. This amused the giant greatly, because it caused mass confusion and fear, and this is what the Mr. Pew lived on. So Bigfoot lived on fear. Thus, when the giant saw the 7 brothers, the striped shadow here, the 7 brothers, he felt that this was an opportunity to capture the spirits. Again, the disc. The giant invited the very hunters. The 7 stripes is also the hunters and gatherers. And let me see here. Here, he invited the very hunters into his camp to spend the night and rest. In the morning, he would tell them where to find fresh game. And fresh game refers to wild animals that have been recently hunted, killed, and butchered to find meat. And those animals is also the stripes and the striped shadow. It's always the crowd or bystanders or animals or armies and stuff like that. As the brothers slept, the giant crept into their dreams and took their spirits. He did this because he wanted to eat their bodies, which is also the striped shadow, but could not do so if they were still in possession of their spirits. The giant transferred the spirits of the 7 brothers into 7 rocks. And here we got it. The 7 rocks is also the stripes and the striped shadow. Because he knew that the rock could hold spirits. And why can a rock hold spirits? Because the spirit is the disc light, and the disc light is running through the rocks, so the rocks can hold spirit. These rocks were individually regarded as either Nemushum Asini, the grandfather rock, and Nukom Asini, the grandmother rock. And let me show you the grandfather and grandmother rock. Because if you have seen my videos before, the silvery shadow here is the female shadow, because she got the female posture. And in this case, the father is the striped shadow, the part of her. He is the father and the grandfather and the grandfather and the grandmother rocks. Okay, these Matu Tisan Asiniuk heated rocks and hold the spirits of the night when it is cold under the crescent, and the spirits of light when it is warm under the heat of the disk. And I changed the crescent and the disk instead of using sun and the moon, because it's not the sun and the moon, it's the crescent and the disk, the sun, the hidden sun. So let me explain this. First of all, the heated rocks. You know, the heat comes from the disk, and then the heat goes down through the rocks. So this is the heated rocks. And when it is warm under the heat of the sun, it's the disk here. And when it is cold under the moon or under the crescent, it is the rocks, because this is the crescent. Not the moon and not the sun. The crescent and the disk. Okay, let's move on. Only when the Matotizan Asiniuk are hated until they are bright red are the grandfather and grandmother spirits released. Okay, so when they are heated, they are gonna be released. So when the heat comes, the father and the grandfather and the grandmother is released, of course. And this was how the giant got the spirits of the uncles. Perfect. The young man was told by his uncles how to release the spirits. They could not return to him in human form, but would visit him. If he performed a ceremony, they would show him. As instructed, he built a doomed lodge. And a doomed lodge is a tent with an arc ceiling. And of course it's the this is the lodge here. We already know. And he using branches from a willow tree. And the Milky Way center is the willow tree. And here's the trunk. You know, willow trees, you know it from the hanging willow. But this is the Milky Way center. And we read on here, hanging a willow as the ribs and hides the skin of deer, moose, or buffalo. And this is the hide, and this is the hide. This is different parts of hide, and ribs is of course the striped shadow here. All right. And it must cover the branches. And of course the branches is the stripes in the striped shadow. So the skin is covering the branches and make the tent here. Oh, give me the color here. So here covers. And here's the entrance, of course. So now he built the sweat lodge. He placed the 7 rocks he had seen in the abandoned camp into the base of the fire. Okay, so he placed the 7 rocks into the fire that he was instructed to build outside the dome. And here is the dome, and it's supposed to be outside the dome because it's not, the entrance is right here, right? So it's supposed to be outside. When this was done, he lit the fire and let it burn until the rocks became red and hot. And as I showed you before, the red and hot stones is the disk spirit running through the stones. so they get hot and nice. And he brought the red hot rocks into the doomed structure. So now he take them inside. Once inside the doomed structure with the red hot rocks in the center, he was to close the door, so the dome was completely dark, and begin to sing and pray as he was instructed. And yeah, the dome is dark. All the way around, the dark shadows. As he sang and prayed, he splashed water on the rocks. Okay. Let me get a blue color here, because the water is up here. And the splashing is also the striped shadow. And when he put the hot water, or when he put the water on the rocks, the spirits is released. Also the striped shadow. He saw the spirits of his uncle first as lights. The disc. The uncles were born again from the doomed lodge, and then they become the striped shadows again. The willow ribs of the doomed lodge symbolize the womb of our mother. Okay, this is a very important clue, because the womb, let me write it for you, make it again here. Here we got the mother shadow. And here I'll make another color. I'll make it green color. And this is the womb of the mother with the spirit inside. The willow ribs of the doomed lodge symbolize the womb of our mother, and it was she who has the power to release and bring forth new life. So, this is also the little baby in the womb, and the spirit, of course. This is what Chicom did, and released his uncles to the spirit world. For his determination, faith, and trust, the Creator gave to him a ceremony with which to heal, and by doing so, fed his people. The people is also the striped shadow. He was also given a new name, Asini Avasis, the stone child. And the stone child is the striped shadow with the head of the spirit disc. So here you got the stone child. He would forever be remembered as the boy who brought the sweat lodge to the people. The Milky Way center. And that's the end of the myth. So, today we learned that the sweat lodge myth originated in the Milky Way center. And this is a very ancient myth, so it's also a very important one. And if you got another American native myth you like me to decode, then write a comment below, and I'll do my best to see what I can do about it. I have read a couple of, or all of them. And they all origin at the same place in the heaven. So that's it for today, folks. Thanks for watching. If you like my videos, give me a thumbs up. If not, tell me I'm a louse boy. Until next video, take care and bye.